everybody, and welcome back to the Sideline Eye podcast. This is our preview show, and we're looking ahead to the second round of the Senior Football Championship. I'm delighted to be joined again by Mark Beattie, and we're going to look ahead to all the games across Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Big thanks to Capture Athletic before we start, who've come on board as our official sponsor of the podcast for the duration of the championship. Mark, great to have you on again, and the same sort of format that we went through last week. We'll start with the Friday night into the Saturday and the Sunday, and obviously just covering the senior championship. Again, there's 22 games on this week, so it's impossible to cover everything. We'll do our predictions again, Mark. I know talking to you off there, we didn't do too bad. We've done all right in round one.
Not too bad. You done slightly better, but sure, I'll let you away with.
The knob pulled me out of a hole.
Yeah.
So Friday night, Mark, this has the potential to be perhaps the best game of the weekend. It's the Harps against Silverbridge in Abbey Park at 7 o'clock. This one is on Armagh TV on Friday night, so for anybody that can't make it. The Harps, obviously a good win in the first round, beating Shane O'Neill's. Silverbridge, a disappointing first day for them. Mark, I know, I think you tipped them last week and I fancied them to get a draw against Madden. Look at weather conditions. We spoke with Philly McMahon the other day. Philly McAvoy the other day. It was impossible to play football really the night it was on Friday night. But Bridge, they're going to be disappointed with their first round, and they're going to be coming hungry.
Yeah, I watched it on Armagh TV, and I was really disappointed with Silverbridge. We spoke last week about them coming off the back of winning the league 1B and also winning that reserve championship. But they didn't show any of that to me at all. Whenever they went out against Madden, and we talk about conditions, and it was really brutal conditions, sort of Friday night into Saturday afternoon, and the games as well. But the conditions were terrible for both teams. So you expect, especially the first game in the championship at home for Silverbridge, you were expecting so much more from them. And to be honest, they just didn't show up. They didn't show up at all. And some of their big players didn't show up. And truth be known, it was a real leaderless performance by Silverbridge, I thought. It was just nobody really stood up for them. I think Big Pete Carragher sort of in the start of the second half tried to get them going a bit. But bar that, it was a poor performance, and I know as I say, the conditions were bad, and they kicked 5 points, I think. It was just a poor performance, and really they're lifting their game, need to lift their game something serious to get anything against the Harps. I said last week the Harps would be hard to beat. They still kicked the right few points, and they got over Shane O'Neill's. Still, it would be hard to say where the Harps are at the moment as well. Shane O'Neill's, there was a game that, as we said, it could have been a tricky one for them, but they got over it, and that's all they would have wanted to do, as long as they could get the 2 points from the board and just move on from there. They were probably looking towards now Silverbridge being a more difficult game for them. But after last week, I actually don't know, what Silverbridge is going to turn up on Friday night. It needs to be a major improvement from the one that was there last Friday night.
Was there pressure on Silverbridge maybe, Mark, last week, that having won the league, and we talked about them in the reserve championship, on the reserve league, and everything, the feel good factor around the place? They're at home, the first round of the championship, welcoming Madden. There's maybe a pressure there for them to perform, and it just didn't happen on the night.
Yeah, could be. It could be simply down to that there, but you still want to see, even in a night when the team plays bad, you still want to see leaders. You still want to see, when it comes to championship, you want to see people, taking the game by the scruff of the neck when they were down, and them sort of them bad conditions nights. That's when you want to see one or two players really standing up and trying to drag them over the line. Because as you move on the championship, there's going to be bad conditions. Pitches are going to get heavier. So you've got to be up for all this. You've got to be ready for it. So, could be a bit of that, could be a bit of nerves, and maybe feeling the pressure from around the club, and just different people maybe talking to them about how well they've done and how great it is around Silverbridge at the moment. And maybe sometimes that goes to your head, and on the night when it doesn't start good for you at the start of the match, it just carries on right through. So we could put it down to that, and I'm sure that's what Silverbridge is hoping it is, and that they come back stronger for it on Friday night. But it need to be a major improvement to get something out of the Harps in Abbey Park, you know.
The Harps obviously started well, as you say. We spoke about them maybe being very solid defensively last week, and we spoke about that. The likes of Minnie McShane, Tom McKean didn't play, but Minnie McShane was playing. I think he was right half back.
Yeah.
Was attacking, got 3 points from play. To put up 16 points away from home in the first round of the championship, that's good going from the Harps.
Very good, very good. Because as I said last week about how defensively they were set up, and I'm sure that structure was still well in place. But now that they've transferred that into maybe a bit of more attacking as well, to get the points on the board. So 16 points is a fair good scoreline. To come away from, especially away from home with Shane O'Neill's. So yeah, it was one of the games that I never get seeing any of. So I don't know. I can't read too much into the Harps for Shane O'Neill's at the moment. But it's still 16 points, as you say, away from home. It was a game. It's going to be a tricky one, but they came away. They got the win, and they'll be happy just to get away from that one and just concentrate now on Silverbridge on Friday night.
In terms of our predictions, this is one could come back to bite us. I'm going to go with the Harps, but I think Silverbridge are better than what they showed last Friday night, and I would expect a reaction from them, but I would be back in the Harps. What do you think, Mark?
I'm in the same boat. Yeah, I would hope that Silverbridge are going to come out fighting. That they're going to have a lot to prove. A lot of us were thinking after Silverbridge, winning the league, you're expecting something really big from them. And as I said last week as well about the cross game last year and how well it performed there for so long. So it's in them. It's in Silverbridge to give a big performance. But the Harps, with a bit of confidence there of the win last week, home at Abbey Park. I think I'll have to tip. I think I'll have to tip the Harps based on Silverbridge's performance last week.
So that'll take us into Saturday then. And same as last week, there's 3 senior championship games on Saturday, 2 live on Armagh TV. So the first one, Grange and Clann, and this is in Grange. This isn't on Armagh TV for anybody that won't make it. But the Grange, they put a good shift in last week, Mark, and I think we sort of talked about them last week. They'd been relegated. Ethan Rafferty obviously missing the rest of the season. Everything they had an excuse to just lie down, I suppose, and see the year out with a whimper. But I know they didn't win, but they put up a really good showing against Granemore, and that'll give them a bit of confidence and a bit of momentum heading into this weekend.
Yeah, definitely. I think they were leading up until maybe 20 minutes or so into the second half. They were leading by a couple of points. So yeah, definitely it'll give them a bit of confidence. Justy Kearns was back for them as well, which would have been a big help. Unfortunately, Nasty Ethan would have been even a bigger boost, but not to be. But yeah, that's showing real character, and you expect that from the Greens all the same. You do expect the Greens when you go, especially when you go to the Greens, there's always fight in them, and they showed that surely last weekend against Granemore. Now, in saying that, Granemore are that dogged sort of team as well. They don't ever rack up big wins against teams. So it was maybe a good game for the Grange as well going into the first game. They just know if they could have steadied the ship and maybe probably went a wee bit defensively and kept themselves in the match and proved that if they do that they have a chance. You know what I mean? They've definitely got a chance of keeping the game tight. And who knows then when you go down the stretch that they could maybe get over the line against one of the teams. Unfortunately, it didn't happen for them last week, but definitely it was a good showing for them for a team that's been relegated at the bottom of the league of 1B. It was definitely a good showing for them.
I think that they're going to have to keep it tight, Mark. That's going to be the main thing because Clann coming into this game off the back of just scoring 18 points against St Peters. Conor Herbert claiming 10 of them. It's maybe not going to be the best game for a neutral spectator, but the Grange are just going to have to do what they have to do because you can't play man on Conor Herbert simply, and St Peters learned that last week.
Yeah. No, the Greens have to make this game ugly. Like there's no question about it. They have to get men behind the ball. They have to get in Clonard's faces. They've got to just basically tighten the pitch as much as they can. And that's if they were to decide to go out and, as you say, leave one man inside the Mark Turbo and just try and go man for man, Clonard could do a real job on them. But in saying that, I don't think they will do that. They will tighten the ship, especially in the first half, to just try and stay as close as possible to Clonard. That saying, I would expect Clonard to get over that, whatever sort of Grange throw at them. But there's no doubt about it. Grange, as I said, against Granemore, they'll put up a fight. They'll really be dogged, and it also is a big game for them regarding going out to play, one of the bigger teams, just for each player, just to go out and put their chest out and say, yeah, let's see what I can do here against some of basically the best players in the county, and TK and Turbo and Ryan Henderson and these fellas, it's sort of for an individual going out there that take on the job of marking some of these fellas, that's what you want to be doing. You want to be going out and playing against the best players, and saying, I can do it, I can compete with these guys. So that's another sort of challenge within itself with the Greens. So yeah, I can't say, I still see not only a Clonard win, but yeah, hopefully the Greens will put up a good fight and give Clonard a good enough game.
Yeah, I think we're both going Clonard for that, but
Yeah,
probably not a 15-point win as the experience
yeah,
last week, I
yeah.
wouldn't think.
No.
So moving on Saturday evening then, it's Shane O'Neill's against Madden at 5:30. This one's live on Armagh TV. Shane O'Neill's, obviously we spoke about the Harps. They lost to the Harps last week. No Kieran Mackin, Mark, which is a big thing. I didn't know he was going to be out injured. I think he's out injured for a few more weeks anyway. Whether he'll see the group stage or not, I'm not sure, but I don't think he'll make this weekend. Probably the same with Madden with Niall Grimley. Not ready to go yet either. So I suppose Shane's, when we were talking about it being a potential banana skin, we were going off the back that they would have home advantage and they would have their three county men. Kieran didn't play. I think Greg got a black card at near the end of the game too. So Kieran Mackin's he's a almighty miss for Shane O'Neill's, isn't he?
You imagine the engine that man brings to the Shane O'Neill's. Like, you see him in big county days, and he's just a workhorse, absolute workhorse. Gets through a mountain of work, and you bring a fella like that, in the club scene. He's just a massive addition to any team. And that he would have been a massive loss there on the weekend there against the Harps. That said, if he's going to be out for another week or so, you're looking at a Shane O'Neill's team. It's basically there's a team that was in playing in 1B that got relegated, so they're going to be up against it. I know the other Mackin and McKay will still be available for this weekend, so you would expect them to put up a bit of a fight. But that said, again, Madden, as we spoke about last week, you were just looking to see something from the league game against Clann. You were hoping that they were going to respond, they were going to come out and show a bit of character, and I think they've done that. Not a great performance by any means, but they came back out and they really wanted it. You could see the hunger in them, and they were very smart in the way they played the game, with the conditions and stuff like that. So I was reasonably impressed by Madden last Friday night. As I said, Shane O'Neill's on the other hand, I never seen the Harps game, so it's sort of hard for me to say just where they would be at the moment. But if Mackin's out, and this is a game that if they don't get something out of this here, their season basically could be over. It's a big game for them, and they would have needed everybody on board, I think, to get something out of Madden.
I think that's maybe something we're going to touch on in a couple of games, Mark. The fact that Shane's, they nearly have to win this, because if they don't, they're away next week.
Yeah,
They're just coming off the back 2 defeats. It's going to be difficult for them to pick themselves up, and that's the case. We'll probably say that a couple of times tonight. That's going to be the case for a couple of teams.
it is surely. There's a few teams there that they're maybe going to be playing even a more difficult game in the last game of the season. So yeah, Shane O'Neill's have to really eye this one up, and hopefully if they could get a win here and then have a full complement of players come the last match, all of a sudden who knows what could happen for them. But as I say, I think it's going to be a big ask for them to get something out of Madden. You would imagine Madden will be looking at this also as a game, 2 points, and that's 4 points for them. That guarantees them going through. And it's sort of going to work both ways here this week, where a lot of teams will know they'll be gearing. It'll not be a performance; it'll be just about getting the win. For a lot of teams to get to that 4 points means that they're definitely safe. And then the following week they'll be just pushing, hopefully get that first place to get the week's break and prepare for a quarter final. That's what Madden.
So I think we're in agreement there for Madden too, Mark, aren't we?
Sorry, Sean.
We're in agreement there for
Yeah,
Madden
yeah,
team this
yeah,
weekend.
yeah. I think we're definitely going for Madden here. Yeah.
So that's Saturday evening then. Saturday night is Granemore and St Peters. And again, this is going to be live on Armagh TV. Granemore obviously beat Grange last week, while St Peters a really heavy defeat against Clann. But obviously, Mark, we spoke last week. We think Clann are top two side. Definitely, it's them and Cross seem to be the top two teams. St Peters, how can they take anything from that? How do they bounce back? Confidence is just going to be this.
We spoke a wee bit about this offer as well. Really disappointed in St. Peters. In a local derby like that, you were just expecting so much more from them. Um, again, we can talk a lot about Clann and the performances they've put in and where they're at the moment, but coming into the game, St. Peters to me they just didn't lay it love in Clann. They didn't go at them. The sort of even Big Arn would have been winning ball around the middle. Instead of them trying to move the ball quick, trying to get into now McConville, trying to cause a bit of danger to Clann. Not once did they sort of just it was slowed down. They went side roads, they went back roads, and instead of just trying to move the ball quick and maybe even the first 10 or 15 minutes, just try and keep the game tight. But after that, let's go at them. Let's see what Clann is made of. Let's put up a wee bit of a fight here. But no, they didn't, and the game just went along like that there. To me, to be honest, I don't even think Clann really got going. It was just too easy for them. And I would have liked to see a lot more from St. Peters to give them a bit more of a game. But in saying that, when you look at Kieran McCavigan, Oran Fenton, now training players like that, these boys aren't bad footballers. You know what I mean? And they are, they put in some work for St. Peters, and I would expect them boys to bounce back, and they'll try and rally the troops this week and get up for this game come the weekend. But as I say, it was a very disappointing performance by St. Peters. There's no doubt about it. And listen, we can sit and say this, but they'll know it themselves. Like they know exactly that it was disappointing. Massive crowd, absolutely massive crowd. Probably as big a crowd as there's been at the game in Lurgan in years. And that comes with it as well. People coming walking away and talking to them guys this week how poor it was and disappointing and all that. And that'll play in their heads a wee bit. But you just hope that they get back to training this week and they can really, turn it around a bit and go out and show, just a bit of fight and maybe just to go at a team, not just to be sitting back and expecting something to happen or hoping something's going to happen. Just go out and give it a lash. That's my opinion on where they need to go this weekend.
You spoke last week, Mark, about how difficult Granemore is to go to. That's the challenge ahead of St. Peters too.
That's going to be the hard one for them as well. The fact that they're coming back off the back of that defeat and then to go to Granemore, that's going to make it even more difficult for them. But in saying that, this is what you have to do. You have to go and they're going to have to come back. They're going to have to, for anyone St. Peters people are going to go watch them this weekend, they've got to show what they're made of. They've got to, come out and just sort of put on a performance for the jersey and for the club and just try and get a wee bit of respect back there. That's just what they really need to go for this weekend. But
Granemore. Sorry, go on, Mark.
Yeah, and saying that, I still can't see them, getting over the line with Granemore. As we said last week, how difficult a place it is to go to. But if the Peters can just get at them and sort of unsettle Granemore, a bit like the Grange game, where you don't expect Granemore to sort of put up that sort of score against them. But in saying that, that'll depend on St. Peters and what performance and what St. Peters turns up. So it'll be interesting to see now.
I suppose on Granemore, we're crediting Grange an awful lot for the performance they put in, but credit Granemore too, they actually won the game. So
exactly.
And I got two goals, Mark, that from their half backs. We talked about the Harps, the likes of Minnie McShane coming forward. Ryan Rafferty, number 15, all his life is now at wing half back. And doing really well there. He played really well against Ballymacnab the last round of the league. Got a goal the last day. Kieran McQuaid was seeing his potential last year. I think he got
Yeah.
a club all-star last year as they got to the final. He got a goal as well. So the Granemore, Jason O'Neill, I think he wasn't there. He's obviously their main scoring threat. So the likes of Rafferty, Kieran Doyle, Kieran McQuaid all bushing forward. That's
Yeah.
going to be hard
Well,
to
them
get
boys are going to
goals
have to
on.
step up because I just heard the weekend that I think Jason's out for the year. Uh,
Okay.
I think he got a bad knee injury the week before he tried to play the Ballymacnab game. But now that's the talk coming from Granemore now, whether they're playing main games with me. I don't know, but supposedly, yeah, I don't think he's going to feature. Well, definitely not in the early stages of the championship anyway. So he'll be a massive loss. So these other fellas are going to have to stand up. You know, they're going to have to step up because Jason definitely is their main go-to for their scores. Like, you know, anytime you go to Granemore, he seems to pop off 4 or 5 points, and he's always good for a goal as well. You know, so yeah, them all fellas will definitely need to step up and fill in for him. You know, so they done that last weekend. Yeah,
So again, I think we're in agreement here with Granemore. We're doing well tonight, Mark. We haven't disagreed yet. That's four
no,
out of
not
four
yet.
for us.
No.
Um,
Yeah, three more for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Granemore kept Granemore himself there. Moving into Sunday then, Mullaghbawn and Clann. This is Sunday, 1 p.m. A poor start from Mullaghbawn, 6 points up in Sarsfields, and we spoke last week about having to go to Sarsfields. It's as difficult as Granemore is, and it proved that 6 points up at half time, and Sarsfields just turned it on in the second half. But Mullaghbawn home advantage this week. They'll have Daggy Lai, I think he was suspended last week, so he'll hopefully be back for them. Eddie English in really good form, kicked 6 points last week. So while they've been disappointed losing, Mark, there's maybe a few things that they can take from the game
Yeah,
to build on.
yeah. Eddie English was put a real good first half in. Kieran Grant was very good as well. Picked up a lot of ball from him. It was totally a game of two halves. Mullaghbawn had the win in the first half, and they seemed to win a lot of ball and got the ball in English, and he seemed to do a lot of damage. Um, uh, so yeah, they've a few positives, but at the same time, when you're 6, 7 points ahead, you expect to kick on and maybe win the game because Sarsfields were poor in the first half. You expected a bit more from them. Tried to sort of slow the game down as you do against the wind, but when Mullaghbawn went at them, they sort of couldn't handle English and a few other players in the Mullaghbawn forward line. Um, in saying that, once it hit the second half, the McJones, Paul Neiman put in a real big shift for them, and won a lot of ball, and Mullaghbawn just seemed to die, in the second half, and they should have then been trying to keep ball, slow the game down, but they couldn't get their hands on the ball, and Sarsfields kicked on and got the win. As we say, Sarsfields poor at the start, but the sort of that Trosna is just a difficult place to get something out of, and Mullaghbawn felt that at the weekend. But no, there's some positives to take out of it. But in saying that, they were beat after being 6 points up, so they've a bit to work on definitely, and they come up against the Clans who put in a real good showing on Saturday night. It'll be a difficult game for them, but home advantage might play a factor in it.
And Clann spoke with Philly McAvoy, gonna have to get that right. Spoke with Philly McAvoy during the week, Mark, about the Clans, and while it was only a point, you can say it was only a draw. Them coming off the field, them in training this week, it felt like a win, and they're going. It I'm not sure if it was a statement that they put out against Cross, but they're going this week. They have to back it up now. It's no good getting a point against Cross and then coming out and getting beat this week. You know what I mean? They're going to have to back it up.
Yeah, totally agree with you. I was saying to you earlier, I was at the game. I thought it was a really good game. I thought the first half was excellent. Great intensity to it. Real good hits, physicality from both teams. Moving the ball quickly, and it was end to end. There was two teams going at each other, and I really enjoyed the match. They a wee bit in the second half, but the Clans will take a lot from this, take an awful lot from it. Now, my fear for Clann would be that they they really would have geared towards that game. We talked about it in depth last week, how Cross coming to David Park, the first game, big crowd, all that plays a massive factor in it. It's going to be a different game this Sunday. They're going to go to Mullaghbawn, won't be as big a buzz about it. They put in a big shift, big performance. Are they going to back it up? Are they going to play with that intensity? That's the key now for Clann. And if they do, after watching both teams last weekend, there's only one team going to win this game, in my opinion. But that's the question that's going to be. I'm sure the Clann management will be asking them that. What they'll be putting in this week. He's going to back it up. There's no point putting in that one performance and then coming this weekend and maybe drawing or losing to Mullaghbawn. No disrespect, but that's where Clann at now. They have put out a bit of a statement. I still wouldn't be putting them up there as content, up there with Crossmaglen, Clann Killeavy's, but Cross and but yes, they put a statement out there to say, yeah, we're up for anybody on our day. We can put in that performance. And as you say, coming off the field, the Cross will feel like that's a loss. 4 points up, and Clann coming back and getting the draw. And just on it, there was a stage in the game where the Clans were actually a point up, and McPartland had a shot, and from the angle I was at, it was 100%. And to me, it was a point that would have put them 2 up. But then there was a bit of, lost their tempers, lost their sort of focus, the Clans, for a few minutes with referees and with everything, and all of a sudden within a lot of minutes, Cross were 4 up. And it was a real turning point in the game. And but to be fair to them, they dug in, they kept at it, and they got a score, and then they got the goal at the end, which was great. It was a great end to the game. A really good game. It was a powerful, lovely wee ball from O'Neill, and McPartland getting up and who had an absolute stormer of a game. He was fantastic. So he was very good.
I know last week on the podcast, we spoke on our review show. We spoke about Philly spoke about the likes of Connor Turbot, like having a marquee forward like that, having somebody that you can just give the ball to, you can rely on to score. He showed that last week. Rian O'Neill, obviously, in Cross. Shane McPartland, I know he can play full forward and has done it. He's probably playing further out the field, but he is that bit of a marquee forward about him now too, and his confidence sky high after the year he had with Armagh.
Sky high, and after last week's performance as well, it's only going to rise even more. I was really impressed, man. He just, every blade of grass, he was fighting for every ball, and when he got on the ball, there was always something good came out of it. And 1-7, I think he scored. So yeah, it was a fantastic performance, man, an individual performance. But it was his leadership as well. He was really leading the Clans and driving them on, and definitely a very impressive performance, man. Really, probably for me, probably one of the performances of the weekend. It was excellent.
And again, I think what's this going to be? 6 out of 6, 5 out of 5. Sorry, we'll go with Clans here as well, Mark.
I think I'll go with the Clans, yeah.
Yeah, so that's Maghery and Killeavy then, 2:30 on Sunday. It's going to be live on Armagh TV. Maghery obviously hosted Ballymacnab last week, Mark, so I got seeing them up close. Probably there's a wee bit of an expectation on Maghery, but simply put, they don't have the same players that they had when they were winning championships. The two Laverys aren't there, two Lappins aren't there, Crayley wasn't there. Although saying Andy Waters in the Irish News report and Crayley's possibly going to be back for some stage in the group stages, so that would be a massive boost for them. But their pride's maybe stung a wee bit here, Mark, that they were beat on home turf, and they're not going to want that to happen 2 weeks in a row.
No, they won't. But again, watching it, a performance like that, they will be losing 2 weeks in a row. There's no question about it. I know you're probably going to put Ballymacnab as one of the contenders after that performance, but
definitely not.
But Mackie, to be brutally honest, they were poor, very poor, and as you said, they're a team in transition. I suppose they're trying to bring in some young players. The older players are still there. There's a lot of males on the legs. As you said, the Lappins, the two Laverys, massive, just big losses. And the other fellas who are also getting the sort of late 30s, they're probably, I'm sure, find it difficult to keep the whole thing going as well. But Creeley would need to get back and get back soon, because if he's not back in the next week or two, I could see Maghery's championship could be over. It's they really need to up the ante. A couple of saves, hit the crossbar, Ballymacnab at the weekend. It could have been a much bigger scoreline. Missed a lot of chances in the first half as well. So 6 points that the won by or the lost by Maghery, they were lucky that it wasn't more. So they would need to regroup this week and take a go. Sort of hard look at themselves and say, where can we go from here? And it's not looking good. To me, it's not looking good because I think Killeavy coming to them after the performance they put in last weekend. You can't see much more than a Killeavy win.
Killeavy, they were sharp, Mark, and they're a bit like Clann we were speaking about. They're going to want to come on and back that up and putting out it. Beating Maghery on home soil is a bit of a statement win, and having already beaten Dromintee away from home, it would back up that sort of their sort of, what would you call that, label as a top contender, beating two
Yeah,
teams
well,
away
to
from home.
me, Killeavy put themselves in as a contender, as a top contender last weekend. Again, a local derby. You thought, to be fair, Dromintee in the first half did put it up to them. Again, but there was a wind in favour of Dromintee. But I was very impressed by Killeavy. Not only defensively, they're traditionally good defensively. You expect that, but going forward, I was again impressed by them. Maybe a few wee changes there with, McGill's kickouts alone. Just puts them on the attack, puts the other team under serious pressure right from the off. That would be something that James Burns who is involved with Killeavy, he would be he'd be big into that. That if you have a keeper with a big kicker like that, get the pressure straight on them straight away. And they did, and the beauty about that was the players, Conor O'Neill, Kieran O'Hanlon in the half forward line. You have big, strong men there who are going to win ball, and if they're winning ball in that area from your keeper's kickouts, you're putting serious pressure on them teams. And again, I don't know if Maghery will have the players to deal with that at the weekend. And even round the midfield, very impressed by Killeavy's midfield as well. Big, strong men, and again, racked up on a nice wee scoreline as well. So very impressed by Killeavy. Definitely, I'm putting them in there alongside Clann and Crossmaglen at the moment now, as probably team of the weekend. Best sort of performance for me at the weekend was Killeavy.
Yeah, I think we're both going for Killeavy here, just to sort of back that up and give another big sort of statement win under their belts. We're in Ballymacnab then Sunday at, I think it's 4:30. On Sunday, this is live on Armagh TV as well. Ballymacnab and Dromintee. Mark, you said you seen the Ballymacnab game. I'm not going to say too much, naturally enough, but you're impressed the second half. I think Ballymacnab, I think that was their best performance in probably this year.
Yeah, I think the first half was quite cagey. Both teams, I think Ballymacnab were still probably the better team, and then they lost a man as well at half time, just before half time. And you would have thought then the Maghery would have come out and kicked on, but really Ballymacnab came out and kicked on. And yeah, I was impressed. He's still driven there, and good on the ball. Rory, of course, you expect. McPartland impressed too. Got on a lot of ball, and Jack Rugan's going to be a massive plus. Probably taking all game or two from to really get back up to speed. But yeah, I have on Hughes kicked some wonder scores, so he did. I think it was two of them who were just out of this world. So yeah, Ballymacnab could quietly just slip in here and maybe be one of the contenders as well, Sean.
And Mark, no, I don't think so yet. But Mark, I bet the game changer is Jack Rugan, because he only come on last week. That is his first game since the Maghery quarter-final last year. Obviously, he'd been playing a bit out in Australia, and that was
Yeah.
first game for Ballymacnab again. How big of a game changer is having him back for the Nab?
He's massive. Again, playing against Ballymacnab over the years when he was playing, you knew he was one of the main men that you had to try and take out, because if he gets any space at all, he's going to get the scores. He's going to get big scores. He can rake up big, not 6, not 7 in any game if he gets the time on the ball. But as you say, he's only back. He's going to take a few weeks. But if Ballymacnab can get through these next couple of weeks, get in the playoff and then the quarter final, by that stage, you'd like to think he's going to be up to full, sort of near enough full fitness. That is a massive boost to him, massive boost. And they all can play off him well if he's in full forward, really get the right ball in them. And he's hard, very hard to handle, when he's in there. So he's a massive boost for them coming back. And just when we were talking about them last week, I didn't know that he was back or where he was. And that was another reason why I was sort of looking at them saying, where's their outlet going to be? Who's going to be the go-to man? Well, now they've got him as well. And Hughes, they've still got a serious forward line there to cause a lot of damage, So
I didn't know he was back yet. Mark didn't find out to the Friday night at training.
yeah.
But Dromintee, they're coming down to Ballymacnab, and I know Philly had mentioned this during the week, that themselves and Ballymacnab are always just, it's 1 or 2 point games. And just sort of thinking back over the week there, I think when Ballymacnab won the league in 2018, they'd only lost 1 game, and that was actually to Dromintee in Ballymacnab. So Dromintee always give Ballymacnab a big test. It's always a fairly even game. And Dromintee are going to be hurting. They're only after losing to their near neighbours on home turf. So they're going to be coming down. It's a must win really for them and Maghery, because you don't want to be going into that last weekend needing points.
Not knowing where you're at. To be honest, Dromintee played reasonably well, especially in the first half on Sunday. I just feel that Killeavy were just too strong and well organised and just a bit more seasoned probably. So I wouldn't say, of course, Dromintee's going to be going back in this week in the train, knowing that they need to improve and a lot to work on. But it's going to be a big ask for them to get anything out of Ballymacnab, I think, this weekend. I think what we've seen this last weekend was that the Division 1A teams, that there is definitely a bit of a gap between 1A and 1B. I didn't think there was as big a gap. Mullaghbawn was the only team, I think, that came away with a defeat out of any of the 1A teams. So it's sort of hard to weigh it up. I know Ballymacnab was relegated, but Jack Rugan, Rui Rugan, them two fellas coming in. I would still think that Ballymacnab's going to have just a wee bit too much for Dromintee at the weekend, and it is going to leave Dromintee going in the final week trying to get a win against Maghery, and them two teams will be fighting it out. The so-called group of death, I don't think has materialised. I think that Maghery and Killeavy and Ballymacnab this weekend could be in a very good place, going head to head for the top of the group.
Yeah, I'll agree with you, Mark. I'll back an up there as well to get the job done. So to see us out then with Sarsfields and Crossmaglen Sunday at 6 p.m. Spoke last week about how difficult the place Sarsfields is to go. Mullaghbawn found that out. Crossmaglen have found that out a number of times down through the years.
Yeah.
Particularly in league football. And I remember a couple of years ago, 2018 or 19, during the group stages, I think Cross the one down in Sarsfields, but it was something 3-18.
Yeah.
It was a high scoring game that we just shaded.
Game. Yeah. This again, as I said, we spoke about it last week, but the Sarsfields again, they got the win against Mullaghbawn, but they have a lot to work on. I would be very critical of them regarding for the majority of the game. They gave up all possession to Mullaghbawn. They didn't put any pressure on the kick out at all. I think if they do that this weekend, and give the Cross a 6 or 7 point lead, they ain't coming back. You know what I mean? So I think I'm not going to tell them that they need to change their tactics, but they're going to need to go more man to man against Cross. Yes, you have to have your defensive system in place and try and stop them whenever they hit that 45 midfield. But I think to be just giving up all possession against the Cross, and then you're looking at people like Ocean O'Neill, Jamie Clark, these guys getting on the ball more often, they're going to do damage. And again, no disrespect to Mullaghbawn, they probably don't have them type of players that will really hurt you, and hurt you big time. They'll get the scores and big scores. And if they get into that position that Mullaghbawn was in, where they're 6, 7 points up, the Cross will only go on and try and make that 10, 11, 12 points up. And Sarsfields, I don't think there'll be any coming back from that. So I think just a few things that they can work on. But as we say, no matter what, the Sarsfields will be up for this game. They'll love again Cross coming there, and they'll want to put up a bit of a show. And to be fair, Eamon McGowan had a fantastic second half. Paul inside had a good game. Now Cura had a good game. Cal McGibbon kicked a couple of lovely points. So the Sarsfields have good footballers. They really do, and they'll work their socks off for each other. Again, I think we're sort of the way the fixtures have went this weekend. For this weekend, we'll probably be in agreement again. I can't see the Sarsfields coming out of it with a win, but I think they'll put up a good enough showing, and they'll get close enough to the Cross. But I think the Cross will run out winners in the end.
And our Cross, nearly a wounded animal coming into this weekend, having not lost but the drew. Just the circumstances, Mark, being 4 points up, and just the way it all worked out. We talked about Clans, it was like a win for them. Probably felt like a loss for Crossmaglen.
Absolutely, it definitely would have felt like a loss for the Cross. They took off Jamie as well. They took him off maybe 10 or 15 minutes to go. Maybe thought the game was they sort of had got there. They'd got the 4 points up. Made a few changes and stuff like that, and for that to happen, and it was a real sucker punch for them. But they'll come back fighting with that this week now. But how they'll respond, probably in typical Cross fashion, they'll come out all guns blazing and definitely get the win. But instead, the big boost for Cross to me last week was Ocean O'Neill. Him coming back in, he had a good game in the middle of the field. It was an 60 minutes plus played, and he was a big boost for Crossmaglen. And the more games he gets, the better he's going to get, and the fitter he's going to get. And yeah, I was impressed by him now. Couple of Jamie Clark had a reasonable enough game. Eireann as usual, he got you some good scores. But yeah, the cross I would imagine will come out fighting this week and wanting to prove any wrongs to get it all right this weekend and get themselves off to a win and get 3 points. That'll sort of put them in the position as well that this will then start the likes of Cross and the Clans will maybe have an eye on the scoring part of this here, because this is what's going to maybe boil down in this group, for who's going to win the group. So that might bode well for the Sarsfields as well,
And again, I think we're in agreement here. 8 out of 8, Mark. Somebody's going to let us down there.
Somebody has to let us down big time, yeah.
There's definitely going to be an upset somewhere in them 8 games. But Mark, brilliant. Thanks for coming on. That brings round 2 to a close. Just before we go, another big thank you to Capture Athletic for coming on board as our official podcast sponsor for the duration of the championship. We'll be back on possibly Sunday evening, and if not on Monday, with a review show and hopefully another couple of interviews, the same as last week as well. Mark, brilliant to have you on. Appreciate you coming on, giving us your time and giving us your thoughts.
No problem, Sean. Thank you. Pleasure.